Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Nicole and I sell vintage decor on Etsy. So I started my shop at the beginning of June and I didn't get my first sale until around mid to late June. Now it is July 30th, 2024, and July has been my first full month as a reseller on Etsy. So I figured it would be a fun idea to share everything that I've sold in the month of July, how much my items cost me, the amount of money I made, and all the details that pertain to my first month as a reseller. So in the month of July, I got a total of 17 sales, which I'm really thankful for, very excited about. I didn't even know if I would have my first sale by now, so it's pretty crazy to me that I've gotten so many. My first sale in July was on July 1st, and I sold a set of crystal and brass candle holders from 1973 made by the Lovesky and Lovesky Company. I personally really loved these candle holders and was sad to see them go. They're some of the most beautiful candle holders I've ever thrifted. Now let me pull up my spreadsheet. So I have a master doc here of all the things that I've sold in green, things I've listed in blue, and my inventory that has not been listed yet. In the spreadsheet, I have the date that I purchased the item, date I listed the item, the date I sold the item. I have the original price, the listing price, all of the Etsy fees, and then the actual amount that I made off the item. So those candle holders from the 1970s, I purchased them for $3 and sold them for $38. After subtracting the cost of my item as well as all the Etsy fees, I made $32.33. The next item that I sold almost immediately after I listed it, and it was a spoon rest made in Japan with a goose on it. This spoon rest I purchased for $0. Oh yeah, on one of my thrifting trips, I went to a store and opened up an old alarm clock that had some corroded batteries in it, and the corroded batteries got all over my skin and I went and washed it off, but I had like a very small chemical burn from it. It was not a big deal at all. It was very minor. But I warned the lady who worked there just to let her know that they might want to discard that item or take the batteries out of it, and she felt bad about what had happened, so she gave me all of my items for free, which was crazy. So yeah, I got that spoon rest for free and made $11.02 off of it. I listed the item for $12. The Etsy fees were 98 cents, so Etsy takes 6.5% of the total sale, and then they also take an extra 20 cents for every 6 months that the item is listed. So the candle holders and the spoon rest were both sold on July 1st, and then on July 2nd I also had another 2 orders. So I sold a vintage wooden lidded jar. I purchased the wooden jar for $1 and listed it on Etsy for $18. After the cost of the item and Etsy fees, I made $15.63. And then the second thing I sold that day was a silver butter dish, which I've been trying to find more butter dishes now because maybe functional items sell a little bit quicker, because this did sell pretty quickly after I listed it. Obviously, I only have 17 sales from July, 20 sales total, so I'm not getting any crazy stats right now about what kind of stuff sells, but it does give me a little bit of insight and also just motivation to keep going. This butter dish was silver plated from the 1980s. It was really beautiful. It had a lid that came off as well as a glass insert that you could take out that had a beautiful starburst pattern on it, and it was made in the USA by the brand Urbanware. I purchased the butter dish for $1.99 and listed it for $12, and after subtracting the cost of the item and Etsy fees, I made $9.03 from it. The next day, on July 3rd, I got 2 more orders. So at this point I was going crazy because the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd I was receiving 2 orders each day, which was pretty insane. And the first thing that I sold that day was a vintage W.M. Rogers silver-plated serving tray. This is an item that I actually kind of regretted buying. I just felt like it wasn't the most incredible find and might have been a waste of my time, but to my surprise, it sold. This piece was likely made in the 1950s, and I purchased the item for $1.50, listed the item for $12, and made $9.52 of profit. The second thing I sold that day was a wicker duck basket. This basket was adorable, but it did have a broken foot. One of the feet on the bottom was completely broken off, and so I listed it for $8. I purchased it for $1. On this item, I made $6.28. When this order came in, I did message the lady who purchased it just to make sure she was aware of some of the damage and the broken foot, and she actually wasn't aware of the damage because not everyone reads the description or looks super thoroughly through all the photos. So I'm glad that I made her aware of it, and she was still fine with it and still wanted to buy the item. But that's definitely a good tip. If you have an item with significant damage to it, it's worthwhile to reach out and send a message just to make sure the person knows what they're buying and you don't end up getting a bad review. The next item I sold was on July 5th, and I sold a set of 4 plaid checkered cotton placemats. I purchased these placemats for $1.98. I listed them for $12 and made $9.04 of profit. The next day I sold a set of vintage wicker nesting baskets. So I purchased them for $1.99. I sold them for $24 and I made a profit of $20.25. Another item I sold was this pair of pinstripe wooden tea light candle holders. These were super cute. I will say at this point, when I only had a couple listings under my belt, I was pricing my items a little bit lower just so I could get more sales coming in and more reviews, because I'm sure nobody is thrilled to buy something from a shop that only has a couple of sales on it. So at this point, I was really just trying to get those sales in and get some traffic on my shop. I purchased these candle holders for $2. I sold them for $12 and I made a total profit of $9.02. Next, I sold one of my higher priced items. I was so excited when this sale came in, and the circumstances of this sale are a bit crazy. I'll tell you about that in a second. So I sold these vintage needlepoint nautical sailboat throw pillows. That is a mouthful. These pillows were so beautiful and I listed them for $48. The crazy thing about this sale is that they were purchased by a woman in Los Angeles, and she paid $48 for the pillows, but then she paid $52 for expedited shipping on them. So in total, she paid, after taxes, over $100 for these pillows. So that just blew my mind, and I was excited to see that, and yeah, very crazy sale. So this is the point when things went a little bit awry and my camera died without me realizing, but I purchased these pillows for $1.99 and made a total profit of $42.69. The next thing I'm about to be talking about when the video cuts back in is this red ceramic airplane lamp, which I think would be super cute in a kid's room. And yeah, sorry about the voiceover. I purchased this item for $10. I listed it for $38 and made a total profit of $25.33. Next, I sold an adorable wooden storage box. It was hand painted and it had a sun and moons on the side. It was super cute. I actually had a lot of interest in this item before it ever officially sold, and I think around 50 people had favorited it before it sold. This is an item that I actually remember debating in the store whether or not I was going to buy it, and I kept looking at it and I put it in the cart and then put it back on the shelf and put it back in my cart. I really wasn't sure if it's the kind of thing I wanted to be selling, but I think hand painted items are pretty popular on Etsy, and it had a very cute, just very charming, unique feel to it. I purchased it for $2.99, sold the item for $28, and made a total profit of $22.99. Next, I sold a hand-carved Indian wooden desk organizer. This is another item too that I wasn't sure whether or not I was going to get it, and now that I've been thrifting a little bit more and going out and sourcing more often, I see things like this all the time, these exact same carvings. So it's not a super rare item or anything, but it did sell pretty soon after I listed it. And I purchased this desk organizer for $2, listed it for $28, and made a total profit of $23.98. Next is one of my favorite things that I've collected out of everything that I've purchased for my shop, and it was this 1970s wicker flower wall basket. It's beautiful. I can just imagine it up in someone's gallery wall. I purchased this wall basket for $8.99, sold the item for $48, and made a total profit of $35.69. Next, I sold a vintage wall shelf. This item was actually a spoon display rack, but it did have a slightly longer shelf on the bottom to display trinkets or to put a candle holder or something on there. I have definitely noticed a trend in my sales, which is that wall decor, any type of shelves, candle holders that go on your wall, mirrors, stuff like that sell really well on Etsy. And I picked up this spoon rack for $4.49, listed the item for $34, and made a total profit of $27.10. Alright, only 2 items left. The next thing that I sold was a decorative duck pillow with the writing Canada Goose on the bottom, which I'm pretty sure was the brand. And I was so upset with myself when I was unloading the items from my thrift haul because there was a tag on the pillow and I ripped the tag off without thinking and tore the pillow. So I did price it a little bit lower than I would have otherwise because I made 2 little holes in the top of the fabric by doing that, but it did still sell. I purchased that duck pillow for $1.50, listed the item for $24, and made a total profit of $20.74. And of course I disclosed about the hole that I had created. In the description of all my listings, I put a note at the bottom that says that the items are vintage and they show normal signs of wear, and then I list what that might be, like minor scratches, dents, tarnishing, and then I make sure to take pictures too of any damage. And the last thing that I sold this month was a vintage hand-painted floral tray with gold trim. I purchased this tray for $3.74, listed the tray for $24, and made a total profit of $18.50. So for the month of July, I made a grand total of $339.14 on 17 items. And that total is excluding the cost of the item, excluding Etsy fees, shipping, all of that stuff. So that's just total profit for this month. Looking at that number, because I just added this all up, I haven't really looked at this yet, I'm feeling pretty proud of that, pretty happy. I'm hoping that I can keep that up. I know that not every month is going to be this successful for me, and I'm gonna have highs and lows throughout the year, but overall I'm feeling very excited, very motivated to keep working on my shop. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope that you enjoyed and that this video was helpful. If you have a reselling business or an Etsy shop, please leave the information down below. I would love to check it out, and I will see you in the next video.